I think this is the way people naturally turn to the arts to express what is impossible sometimes to put into words.
Let's go into the kind of specifics, because I know you've done work both here in the U.S. and then also work abroad. Can you tell me a little bit about some of the projects you've worked on? And here, I guess we'll start with the U.S.
Yeah, I guess I would focus on, because I've worked for a long time as an art therapist, so maybe currently what I'm doing is I've been working with a group of art therapists, a collective of art therapists, and we have been developing and collaboratively facilitating community studios. And our mission really is simple, but I think important, is that what we're trying to do is go into neighborhoods where there's diversity and bring together people who wouldn't ordinarily hang out together.
So just to give me a sense of what's happening, I mean, you have the studio that's there, and is it advertised as like, hey, come to the studio or come join this class? Do they know that they're going to be there with other members of the community?
So the way we do this, I mean, it's very not traditional therapy at all, because we operate as co-participants.
Okay.
Not to deny that we have some, leadership role, because somebody has to open the door, somebody has to order the art supplies, that sort of thing. But as much as possible, we're trying to level the hierarchy. So we are there as co-participants, and it's free to everyone. So it's not only free to people who can't afford it, it's free to everyone. So to create, like, as much as possible an equitable environment, we do put our mission out there so people know that's our mission. But other than that, it really is a space that's created by the people who are in the space. So the agenda is driven by the people who are part of the studio. So sometimes they're open studios, just where anyone can come and go and create, but other times there are more like workshop style.
So it's interesting. So from the social justice perspective, it's one, sort of helping shift identities in ways where we might say, like us versus them, to being able to kind of change those boundaries a bit to widening who is us, but then also within that group saying, well, maybe I can take on these different roles, and allowing art to be the catalyst for that.
Right, and so working in solidarity with everyone, it's there.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And could you say something about you also do some really interesting social justice work internationally, or outside the United States. Would you mind saying a little bit about that project?
Yeah, so I work with a nonprofit, very small nonprofit organization. Most of its employees are East Africans. And their mission of this nonprofit is to work with children who've been orphaned by the AIDS pandemic, but they understand you can't do that just by working with the child. You have to work with the family and the community. And essentially what I'm doing now is going there along with other expressive arts therapists from the US and other countries, going to East Africa, Kenya and Tanzania specifically, and working with people who've already demonstrated an interest and a dedication to working with kids through the arts. So the focus is on, it's not on doing art therapy with children. The focus is on working with the adults, sharing knowledge and skills, and they do the work with the children.
So you get train the trainer type of model.
Yeah.
So in this sense, I mean, the social justice and the art therapy interactions are, one, identifying, like you said, that larger social issue, which is the AIDS pandemic. And then looking into how to support a whole community, and then looking where specifically an art therapist might come in, which you said might be on the psychosocial aspect of this part, as opposed to here in the US, where it was more working on like using the social justice lens to change those relationships.
Right.
Nice, and that's a nice lead into the next question I wanted to ask, which is, for someone who's interested in this, like for someone who is very interested in social justice, wants to make change in the world, what would be your advice to an art therapist who wants to do that kind of work, or to someone, I guess, a social justice advocate already, but what advice would you give as to where art therapy could step in there or to partner with?
I mean, I guess my advice would be, first of all, prepare yourself. This is not easy work. it can be romanticized, I guess, this idea of social justice, and it's really gritty, hard work. But some of the things I think as art therapists we can contribute is the sensibility to and openness to people who would be othered by our society for many reasons, whether it's because of their status of housing, whether they're housed or homeless, whether they have mental illness or don't, whether they're substance users or not. So I think the position of like radical inclusivity is really important in the work. I think we can bring just our awareness and knowledge of human interaction and group interaction in particular, how groups work and how problems get solved as individuals and groups.